Walk into any pharmacy in America and you will find an entire shelf dedicated to collagen. Powders, capsules, peptides, drinks, creams. The global collagen supplement market is worth over $50 billion a year and growing. The promise is always the same: restore what age takes away, rebuild the skin, protect the joints, slow the clock. In Japan, the country with the highest life expectancy on Earth and the largest population of centenarians per capita, people do not buy collagen supplements. They cook it, not as a protocol, not as a health strategy, as a daily kitchen tradition that has been passed down for generations, so ordinary, so embedded in daily life, that most Japanese people would not even think to describe it as something they do for their health. It is simply how food is prepared. A 2022 study published in the journal Nutrients followed Japanese adults over 70 and found that those maintaining traditional dietary patterns, including regular consumption of collagen-rich foods, showed significantly better skin elasticity, joint mobility, and inflammatory markers than age-matched populations on westernized diets. Not because of supplements, because of what was in the pot every evening. In the next 11 minutes, you are going to understand exactly what that means and how to replicate it in your own kitchen starting this week. And at the end, I will tell you the one element of Japanese collagen practice that the supplement industry has never been able to bottle, the one that makes everything else work twice as hard. First, what collagen actually is and why the supplement version often misses the point. Collagen is the most abundant protein in the human body. It is the structural scaffold of your skin, your cartilage, your tendons, your blood vessel walls, and your bone matrix. Your body produces it naturally, but production declines by roughly 1% per year after the age of 30. By 60, most people have lost close to 30% of their peak collagen production. The results are visible and felt: skin that loses elasticity, joints that stiffen, bones that become more fragile, wounds that heal more slowly. The supplement industry's response was to isolate collagen, hydrolyze it into peptides small enough to be absorbed in the gut, and sell it in powder form. The logic sounds reasonable. The problem is what gets lost in the process. When you consume collagen from a whole food source, bone broth, fish skin, slow-cooked connective tissue, you are not just consuming collagen. You are consuming it alongside glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, the 3 amino acids the body uses to synthesize new collagen, plus the minerals calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus that activate that synthesis. You are also consuming gelatin, which supports the gut lining and improves the absorption of nutrients that collagen synthesis depends on. The supplement strips away almost all of that context. What arrives in the pill is the molecule without the machinery. There is also the question of what triggers collagen synthesis in the first place. Your body does not simply absorb dietary collagen and deposit it where it is needed. The process requires the amino acids glycine and proline to be present simultaneously, with vitamin C, zinc, and copper for the synthesis enzyme, prolyl hydroxylase, to function. Japanese traditional meals naturally deliver all of these together. A bowl of fish-based miso soup with seaweed and vegetables contains collagen precursors, vitamin C from the vegetables, zinc from the seafood, and copper from the fermented miso, all arriving simultaneously, all ready to work together. The supplement delivers one piece of a puzzle that requires every piece to be present at the same time. Japanese centenarians were not getting isolated collagen peptides. They were getting the complete system. And the difference in biological outcome is significant. The first and most foundational source of collagen in the traditional Japanese kitchen is bone broth, not the carton of commercial stock from the supermarket shelf. Real bone broth, made at home, simmered for hours. The practice is simple and ancient. Chicken legs, wings, and carcasses, the parts that Western cooking discards, are placed in a pot with cold water and a small amount of acid, traditionally a splash of rice vinegar. The acid is not optional, it is the mechanism. Acid breaks down the calcium phosphate matrix of the bone and draws the collagen, glycine, and minerals into the liquid. Without it, you get flavored water. With it, you get one of the most nutritionally dense liquids you can prepare at home. The pot is brought slowly to a boil. The foam that rises, blood proteins and impurities, is skimmed away. Then the heat is reduced to a bare simmer and the broth is left for a minimum of 4 hours. 6 is better. 8 is ideal. Japanese households that maintain this practice typically prepare it on a Sunday afternoon while doing other things. The broth fills the house and the pot barely moves. The test for quality is simple. When the broth cools in the refrigerator, it should set into a gel, not a liquid. A gel. That gelatin is collagen in its cooked, bioavailable form. If your broth does not gel, the cooking time was too short or the acid was omitted. This broth is then used not as a standalone drink, but as the cooking liquid for everything: rice, vegetables, stewed dishes, soups. It disappears into the food invisibly, delivering collagen and minerals at every meal, without anyone thinking about supplements. One batch prepared on Sunday provides collagen-rich cooking liquid for the entire week. The time investment is almost entirely passive. You can freeze it in portions. Ice cube trays work perfectly. And add a frozen cube to rice, soups, or sauces throughout the week without ever thinking about it. The Japanese kitchen does not treat bone broth as a wellness ritual. It treats it as an ingredient. That distinction matters. A wellness ritual gets abandoned when motivation drops. An ingredient just gets used. The second source is one that most Western cooks discard without a second thought: fish skin, fish heads, and fish bones. Small fatty fish, sardines, anchovies, mackerel, contain collagen concentrated in the skin and around the bones in quantities that rival meat-based sources. Japanese coastal communities have been preparing fish-based broths and soups using the entire fish for centuries. The head, the skin, the soft bones, nothing is wasted. A broth made from fish heads and skin takes 30 to 40 minutes rather than hours. The collagen extraction is faster because fish bones are softer and less mineralized than mammal bones. The resulting liquid is lighter, with a delicate marine flavor that integrates naturally into miso soup, vegetable broths, and rice dishes. The specific advantage of fish-derived collagen is its molecular weight. Marine collagen peptides are smaller than bovine or porcine collagen, which means they are absorbed through the gut wall more rapidly and efficiently. A 2019 review in the journal Marine Drugs documented that marine collagen bioavailability is 1.5 times higher than land animal sources. Japanese centenarians living in coastal communities were accessing this advantage every time they made soup from a fish head, without ever knowing the biochemistry behind it. If you are finding this useful, subscribe to Longevity Code. Every week we decode one place, one person, one practice the world's longest living populations have been using for generations. Always backed by real science. Always with something practical you can start this week. No supplements to sell, no products to push, just the code. The third element of the Japanese collagen system is where the research points to something the supplement industry has genuinely never been able to replicate. Fermented foods, miso, natto, fermented tofu, pickled vegetables. These are present at almost every traditional Japanese meal in some form. and their relationship to collagen is not direct. They do not contain collagen themselves, but they do something that makes everything else in this system work significantly better. They maintain the gut microbiome. Your gut lining is the barrier between what you eat and what actually reaches your cells. When that lining is compromised, which happens with age, stress, processed food, and antibiotic use, the absorption of amino acids, minerals, and collagen precursors drops significantly. The collagen you consume, whether from food or supplements, can only work as well as your gut allows it to. The beneficial bacteria in fermented foods, Lactobacillus bifidobacterium, produce short-chain fatty acids that feed and repair the gut lining cells directly. A 2021 study in Cell found that a diet high in fermented foods increased microbiome diversity and reduced 19 inflammatory proteins in human subjects within 10 weeks. Not years. 10 weeks. Japanese centenarians were not taking probiotic supplements. They were eating a tablespoon of miso paste dissolved in hot water every morning, a small serving of natto with rice at breakfast 2 or 3 times a week, a few pieces of pickled vegetables with every meal. None of it was a protocol. All of it was maintaining the biological environment that made collagen synthesis possible in the first place. The consistency is the key variable. A single serving of fermented food does relatively little. A daily serving for 30 years restructures the gut ecosystem in ways that no probiotic capsule course can replicate. The centenarians of Japan were not doing a gut health program. They were eating the same breakfast their parents had eaten. The biology simply reflected decades of that consistency. This is the element the supplement industry cannot bottle. You can isolate collagen peptides, you can hydrolyze them for absorption, but you cannot replicate a gut microbiome shaped by decades of daily fermented food consumption. That takes time and consistency that no capsule can shortcut. At the beginning of this video, I told you I would reveal the one thing that makes the entire Japanese collagen system work. It is not the bone broth. It is not the fish skin. It is not even the miso. It is this. In Japan, nothing is wasted. The parts of the animal that contain the most collagen, the bones, the skin, the connective tissue, the fish head, are precisely the parts that the Western food system discards. And in discarding them, we eliminated the most bioavailable collagen sources from our diet entirely, then spent $50 billion a year trying to replace them with powders. The Japanese kitchen did not do anything special. It simply never stopped doing what every traditional food culture did before industrialization made convenience the priority. Think about the last time you roasted a chicken. What did you do with the carcass? If the answer is the bin, you discarded hours of slow-simmered bone broth, several grams of bioavailable collagen, and a week's worth of mineral-rich cooking liquid. That is not a small thing. Over a decade of weekly roast chickens, it adds up to an enormous gap between what your body received and what it could have. The system is 3 things. Tier 1, 1 batch of bone broth per week, simmered for a minimum of 4 hours with a splash of vinegar, used as the cooking liquid for rice, soups, miso, and vegetables. Tier 2, fish-based broth or whole small fish 2 to 3 times per week, sardines, anchovies, mackerel eaten with the skin. Tier 3, 1 fermented food daily, a tablespoon of real miso paste in hot water, a small serving of kimchi, or live culture yogurt, to maintain the gut environment that makes collagen absorption possible. Your action today is this. Tonight, if you have any chicken bones or a carcass in your freezer, put them in a pot with cold water and a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Turn the heat to low. Go to sleep. In the morning, you will have bone broth. Use it to cook your rice. That is Tier 1, Day 1. Subscribe to Longevity Code. Every week, one place, one tradition, one practice that worked for generations before anyone had a word for longevity science. Sardinia, Okinawa, Ikaria, Nicoya, we are just getting started. Leave me one comment. Do you make bone broth at home or do you use collagen supplements? I read every answer, and your response shapes what we cover next.